So as many of you guys know, a couple of days ago, the January LEGO Star Wars 2027 wave had leaked, and I made a video going over it, and in that video, if you remember, 9 sets leaked. However, we only knew the identities of 3 of them, and then the other 6 sets, we just knew the set number and the price. But now, just a couple days later, we know what the other 6 sets are. And for the record, my predictions in that last video were way off, and a big part of that is because a lot of the prices ended up changing of the sets you see on this list right here, so I'm going to use that as an excuse as to why my predictions were so off. But regardless, the first one is 30749, a mini Slave 1 for $5, and we now know that it is going to be Boba Fett Slave 1. In my last video, I was predicting that it would be Jango's, but I was wrong, it's Boba's. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a $5 mini set, so who really cares that much? The next one is 75463, an X-Wing Microfighter, specifically Luke's X-Wing Microfighter, for a retail price of $15. And as most of you guys know, I really like Microfighters, but I have to say the X-Wings have never been my favorite. I've always thought the designs of them were too bulky and too chunky looking, so I hope with this new one they kind of revamped the X-Wing Microfighter design to look a bit more sleek. And then on top of that, I also hope it comes with a very detailed Luke Skywalker minifigure, preferably with dual molded legs and dual molded arms, pretty much just what we saw in the UCS X-Wing. But at this point, it almost seems like LEGO is just allergic to putting dual molded legs in Star Wars sets, so unfortunately I don't think the figure in this set will be anything special. Next up is 75464, Anakin's Jedi Starfighter for $30, and this is actually one of the predictions in my last video that I did kind of get right. I did suggest that one of the $30 sets in that original list could be Anakin's Jedi Starfighter, and well, now we have confirmation that that's true. Regardless though, I am very excited for this because I love the Delta 7s and I don't think LEGO makes enough of them, and it seems like this set is going to be replacing Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter from 2022 because that set is finally retiring at the end of this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if this new Anakin's one ends up staying on shelves for like 5+ years or something. One thing I do have to mention though is that this price of $30 definitely seems like it's subject to change to me. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up getting a price raise to $35 or maybe even $40. God forbid that actually happens. I hope it stays at $30, but just speaking realistically, it might, especially considering the fact that Ahsoka's Interceptor is $45 and this one's somehow going to be $15 cheaper. I mean, we know LEGO that's most likely not going to end up being the case, but aside from the possible price increase, I do have high hopes for this one. Next up is a bit of a weird one. It's 75466 Darth Vader Art for $60, and this is actually one of the ones that had a price change from that original list that leaked a couple days ago. 75466 was said to be an $80 set, and now it turns out it's a $60 set. But still, if it's one of those mural sets that's just like art made with all the different colored studs, I'm personally not going to be interested in it at all. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's a brick builder or something and actually looks kind of cool, because LEGO did make a Sith mural set a few years ago, and I don't really know many people that bought it, and I honestly don't even know many people that know that set exists. So if this one just ends up being the same style with all the studs and everything, I honestly don't think it's going to get much attention. Next up is a very exciting one that I really hope LEGO doesn't mess up, that being 75470, a new duel on Mustafar for $40. And this is another one that had a price change that was originally listed for $80 back on that list a couple days ago. But still, this is a set that people have been wanting a remake of for a long time. Well, actually, the last one came out in 2019, so I guess it really hasn't been that long, but still, it's just such an iconic scene, and it seems like people just want this set every single year. Now, since this one is $40, I obviously assume it's going to be a playset. Myself and many other people really wanted this to be remade into a diorama, and unfortunately, that does not look like it's going to be the case, but a playset is better than nothing. However, one thing I do have to say though, and this is why I said LEGO could possibly ruin this set, is I really hope they actually make the build good. The past 2 times they've made Duel on Mustafar, both the builds have, for the most part, not been good at all, and considering this new one is going to be double the price of the one from 2019, which was $20 then, adjusted for inflation is like $25 now, so I guess $15 more in that 2019 version. I hope the build is bigger, I hope it looks a lot better, and I hope it just overall represents the scene better too, because again, neither of the 2 playsets they've made of the scene really represent it at all, aside from the figures, I guess. But again, this one is pretty exciting on paper, but I'm afraid it's going to be very hit or miss. Next up is a really interesting one, and it's honestly kind of interesting for the wrong reasons, that being 75476, an Endor battle pack for $30. And this is one that I'm actually kind of concerned about. And the reason is because, well, if it's $30, we would assume that it's a super battle pack. So instead of getting 4 figures, we would get at least 6 figures. And in the best case scenario, I would think that would be like 2 Rebel Troopers, an Ewok, 2 Stormtroopers, and a Scout Trooper, all for $30 with like a speeder and a tree build. I think that would be perfect. But the problem is that the last super battle pack we got was the 327th one for $45. And we all know LEGO would never drop the price on a set, so since this one is listed at $30, that honestly makes me kind of concerned, because what if they're gonna make normal battle packs $30 from now on with just 4 figures? I mean, obviously I really hope hope this doesn't happen, but if you think about it logically, $30 should be the price of a Super Battle Pack, but the last Super Battle Pack was $45, and we all know LEGO would not drop the price on something like this. So I guess there are three scenarios with this. One is that it's just going to end up being a normal $30 playset and have larger builds than a Battle Pack would have. However, the problem is I've talked to a lot of different leakers, and they all say their sources are saying it's a Battle Pack, so I guess that outcome is kind of off the table. So I guess the other two outcomes are that LEGO ends up raising the price on this, and it comes out to be around $40 when it releases, or we're actually going to see a 4-figure Battle Pack for $30. I would literally lose my mind if that actually happens, but again, if you think about it logically, I guess that is a possibility. Anyways though, on the bright side, moving on, next up we have a set that is actually really exciting and should actually be really good, that being 75478, a Y-Wing for $80. And in my last video, we actually didn't know what type of Y-Wing this was going to be, so I gave some predictions on what I think it could be, but now we know it's just going to be a standard yellow episode 4 original trilogy one, which I am very happy to see. As some of you guys might know, as of late, I have been going on some rants about how LEGO doesn't make enough Rebel Starfighters because all they make is X-Wings and not the other ones, and now, well, it looks like we're just finally going to get a standard plain Y-Wing, which is exciting because the last one came out in 2017. And speaking of that 2017 model, it was $60 back then, which adjusted for inflation is actually $80 in today's money, but I mean, we all know how LEGO is. Despite the inflation calculations lining up, this new one is still most likely going to be a little bit smaller. However, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think it'll be relatively close to the same size. Like, it'll most likely utilize that same cockpit windshield piece and everything. I mean, I don't think it's going to be bad at all. I think it's going to be a really good set that's just slightly smaller than what we're used to. Next up, we have a really interesting one, that being 75480 Bespin Duel for $80. And if you remember, this is one of the sets that leaked all the way back in January of this year, and now, well, we actually have confirmation that it's real. So that's one step closer to having confirmation that Bounty Hunter Pursuit is also real. Regardless though, the reason I said this one is really interesting is because if you watched my video I released a few weeks ago, which was going over every 2027 set that we knew so far, one thing I did mention in that video is that a Christmas Darth Vader has leaked that's supposed to be coming out this year in 2026, and he's wearing a Christmas sweater that says like "I am your father" on it. And the reason I bring that up is because of that figure, the prediction for this year's Christmas set that would be releasing in October, just like the gingerbread AT-AT from last year, is actually a Christmas version of the Bespin Duel. And right now that theory technically isn't confirmed yet, but I did mention that this rumored Bespin Duel for 2027 could just end up being that Christmas set. But now we have confirmation that that's not the case. We're actually getting a normal Bespin Duel in January. So I guess that means there's going to be a chance that there's going to be two Bespin Duels on shelves at one time, a Christmas version and a normal version, which is something that I was definitely not expecting to happen at all. But regardless, back to this actual Bespin Duel set, I'm really excited for it. It's a very iconic scene. It just makes sense that LEGO would be making it for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. Since it's going to be a playset and not an 18+ set like the last one, I'm really interested as to what the build is going to look like. Since it's $80, I'm expecting it to be pretty large with lots of awesome functionalities, and I guess there's even a chance that it could be based on the scene of the fight where they're in the carbon freezing chamber and not out on the bridge over the void. So it'll definitely be very interesting to see how that plays out. Anyways though, moving on, last but, well, I would say certainly not least, but this actually might be one of the least exciting sets on this list, that being 75482, an upscaled Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot minifigure. So yeah, it'll basically be just like the Darth Vader that released a couple of weeks ago, but an X-Wing Luke version. I guess the only kind of intriguing thing about it is that I'm curious to see what version of the figure they'll base it off of. I mean, I assume it would be like the UCS X-Wing one where he's got arm detail and dual molded legs, but I guess we'll have to see. I mean, again though, I just don't think this set's very exciting. I think it's just more buildable character display slop, but hey, I mean, I guess that Darth Vader is actually selling well, so LEGO feels the need to release another one. Anyways though, that is the entire list of sets that has leaked. However, there is still one thing we gotta go over, and that is anniversary figures. And based on the information that's out right now, they seem like they're gonna be really interesting. So according to BrickTap, we are getting 50th anniversary minifigures next year, and they're going to be based off of Star Wars A New Hope concept art, or at least that is the current rumor right now. And as of now, the Duel Mustafar is the only set we know of that's gonna have one. But back to them being based off of concept art, I think this idea has so much potential. It really just depends on how many people actually know they're based on concept art and know what they're actually supposed to be. But if you look at these concept art designs, these characters look crazy, especially the Chewbacca one right there. That's definitely the one that I'm most excited to see if they make it. But then you have other ones like the original Darth Vader helmet design along with Luke Skywalker with his like breathing apparatus around his head. This whole idea just has so much potential, and I'm honestly really excited for this. But I really feel like it's going to come down to if people actually know these figures are supposed to be based based off the concept art and that people don't think they're just random things Lego made up. Anyways though guys, that is the entire Lego Star Wars January 2027 wave. Let me know what you think about all these sets along with the anniversary figures down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on screen right now.